Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to those of you who've been with us. Some of you have been with us for a long time today. Some of you might be joining your first session today. And many thanks for joining our first day of our Ready for Excellence program. I'm Simon, I'm from MPW. We're running this program over the next 6 Fridays. Many of you will have joined our other sessions. We have 3 colleges in London, Birmingham and Cambridge that specialise particularly at A-level, some GCSE and foundation. There's students from the UK and around the world. Our students transition to excellent universities, and we're going to talk a little bit about this now. The programme that we run within our colleges for university preparation is very individualised, and obviously today is a little bit less individual, but hopefully it will give you a taste of what we do around university guidance. We hope you enjoy being with us, and thank you for joining. There's just a couple of house rules. First of all, just if you can keep your mics on mute unless James says otherwise, that will be great. There's lots of opportunities to ask questions via the chat function that we have, and we've been taking questions all day, so that's great. And we look forward to hearing you on that, and James will explain a little bit more about that probably. We are recording the sessions where we can, and we'll share links with you. This session, the last of the day, as I said, so this is part of our preparing for progression to high quality university stream. Many of you have asked questions in other sessions around some of these areas, so hopefully we'll be dealing with those within these 6 weeks. Today's first presentation, Ready for Your Route to University, is presented by James Barton, who's Director of Admissions at MPW London, who has very extensive experience in this field. I think I'll leave it at that. So thank you, James, for being today and being with us today. And over to you.
Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to everyone. And indeed, as Simon says, thank you for being with us throughout the course today. I've been popping in and out of various sessions, and I have to say I've been enormously impressed with a lot of what's been going on. What I'd like to do is I'm just going to share my screen again if this is still something you can see. Simon, do you mind just acknowledging you can see my screen, just so I've got clarity on it?
Absolutely, I can see your first slide, yes.
Lovely, thank you very much. Well, look, it falls to me to basically introduce our university guidance programme, and it's quite a nice thing to be able to do, because every time I ever interview anyone for MPW, the one place to start with is always to actually ask someone where they want to be in the future. Because if you know that, then roughly you can pare back from there and help guide them in the right way. The one thing that is fascinating, though, is that most people don't actually know what they want to do. And let's be absolutely clear with each other now, that is not a problem. In fact, that is okay in lots and lots of ways. I just want to give you a bit of context. The context is me. I've been doing this for about 14 years now, so that is my extensive experience. But prior to that, let's go back to sort of GCSEs at school for me. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had a very sort of average to okay background profile coming out of GCSEs, same as most people. Went into the A-level system. I took English, history and classics, and that clearly meant I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I ended up applying for a raft of universities, and only by visiting the universities did I decide that the place that was 6th on my list actually became 1st on my list. So a lot of this was trial and error. I went to university to study classics, largely because I really enjoyed the Indiana Jones films, and I thought that was a good thing to do, and I thought it would be a lot like that, and it wasn't. And at university I discovered that really what I really liked doing was acting. So I came out of that and I went to drama school. I went through drama school, came out of drama school, acted for a little bit, and have somehow found my way into education. So all in all, what does that really show? It just shows that you can make life up a little bit as you go along, but it's about having an idea as to what you're interested in. And more importantly than that, it's about knowing who you are, or at least being willing to find out who you are as you go. And that is all we're trying to do with our students over the course of 2 years. See what you are actually interested in from the outset, see if you have an idea, and if not, help you go through the process across the course of the first 18 months, introducing you to lots of ideas and opportunities, and then see what sticks. If you already know, then yes, the process is arguably a lot easier, but in many ways, it's actually a lot tougher as well, because for those who already know what you want to do, there's already a very prescribed list, and we're usually looking at medics or dentists or doctors, vets, or people who want to go to Oxbridge. But look, the UK education system, it gets its reputation because of Oxbridge. It's internationally, its international face there is to have beautiful old buildings and a collegiate structure. But the education system in the UK is far more than just being about Oxbridge. We have now, with the rise of private universities, over 150 different universities in the UK to have a little bit of a look at. Now, that's still dwarfed by the number in America, but it's still an absolutely enormous number. And it offers more than 6,000 degree programs to you. On average, year on year, and it may change a little bit this year because of COVID-19, but on average, year on year, you have about 2.4 to 2.5 million applicants to degrees in the UK. Now, being slightly contentious here, I'd probably defy more than half of those people to actually be putting together an application where they actually know what they're doing. A lot of this is not rocket science, but you do need to know what you're doing. And more importantly than that, you do need to be doing what the universities are actually asking you for and not just putting forward what you think you want to tell them. There is a very close balancing act that we need to look at. Now, your first point of call for anything over this 2-year period or 1-year period, and for this particular talk, I'm just going to pitch this at both people who are starting your 2 years worth of A-level, and also it will be applicable for those who are going into your university adventure year of your final year of sixth form. It works for both, but just try and manipulate it for yourselves here. But your principal resource is the UCAS website, which is www.ucas.com. And that is the central administration body for university entrance into the UK. On there is a search tool. The search tool is a nice place to start because it will allow you to put in there what it is you're interested in and then show you every single university, both state and private, that offers you the course that you might be looking to do. It will also show you similar options as well, so you can get a bit of a sense to it. Once you've found out all of these, and when you come to your second year of study, you will be using the UCAS website in order to put forward your application. It's a registration body in order to do that. What the UCAS website does not do is replace your research to looking at specific university websites themselves, okay? On those websites for the specific universities, you will find more than ever now things like virtual tours. You will find online conversations with staff and students. A lot of time, effort, and money has been spent in this COVID-19 period to put together some very, very worthwhile virtual tools. So do take the time to have a look at the university websites themselves. The absolute basics to the UK system, you can apply to 5 universities. 4 if you're going for medicine, dentistry, or veterinary, but 5 for everything else. Now, those 5 universities, you are not ranking them from the outset. You are just picking 5. When it comes to submitting your application, it's done alphabetically. So if you were ranking them, that ranking order would be removed. And that application is sent to 5 individual universities. No one else can see where else you've applied. What that means is that all 5 courses that you apply to must be roughly similar. Therefore, if you're going to do maths, you could do maths and economics, for example. But what you couldn't do is maths and contemporary modern dance, because when you're actually putting together your application, you are needing to mention the specific courses that you are applying for. If a university is not offering maths and contemporary modern dance, but rather just offering maths, and they receive that application, they are clearly seeing a watered down version of what they should be receiving. Now, all of this you'll get in so much more detail over the course of the next few weeks. Some other basics for you, please. So take a screenshot here if you like. The Oxbridge, the medicine, the dentistry, and the veterinary school deadlines is the 15th of October of any academic year. So 2020 this time round, 2021 the following year, obviously. But the standard application deadline is the 15th of January. So unless you're going for Oxford, Cambridge, medicine, dentistry, or veterinary, you have all the way up until the 15th of January. To give you a sense as to how we do it with our students, anyone who's not within that 15th of October deadline, we usually wait until after that deadline has passed, so you don't get caught up in the Oxbridge and medicine backlog at that time, and then we start submitting applications from there. Prime time to be submitting your application is the end of October, the start of November. And by that stage, we should have a very compelling application to send to universities. If all of that sounds complicated, good in a way, because that's our job to demystify it, but also don't worry too much, because you will have a personal tutor if you don't already at MPW, and the role of the Director of Studies is to take you through this on a one-on-one basis. As Simon alluded to there, it is an individualized process. University is a deeply personal experience. If you are just going to university because someone's told you you have to, or someone's told you that that would be the right degree, we will question it and question it and question it until you understand why it is you are going to that university. Only at the point you understand it and you are looking forward to it, then we will put that application forward, because university is as much about the experience. So moving this forward, over the next few weeks, this is what you have as your program coming up. You'll have a wonderful session next week with Adam to do the personal statement side of things, so I will only touch on that today. But then you've got some more targeted university courses, and of course the value of the EPQ coming up over the next few weeks. Take a screenshot, make sure you come to those sessions, because they are going to be very useful. What I want to do is something a little bit more practical. So please grab paper, grab pen if you don't already have it, and by all means, at any point during this next sort of 20 minutes, ask any questions. This works much better as a Q&A. The university system is about questioning the questions, so do that with me. Question it either in the message chat, or I don't mind if you unmute your microphone and talk to me straight, because sometimes it's a lot easier to actually answer voice to voice. But the first thing I want you to do, you've got a piece of paper in front of you. On one side of it, I would like you to draw a bubble in the middle. This is it's called the mind map, if you haven't already been introduced to it. In the middle of that bubble, I'd like you to write UCAS. It could mean university, it could mean anything, but just write UCAS at this moment in time. Then from there, all we're doing is doing a brain dump onto this piece of paper. I don't necessarily need you to do it now. I'm telling you what would be useful over the course of the next few months, leading into either AS or into your final A-level year. Write UCAS on the paper. Drawing off that, then start writing down subjects that you might be interested in at university. So then you might jot down law, or you might jot down English literature, or something along those lines. Then once you put your subject in there, then start drawing arrows off that, putting down the requirements. So this is where your research comes in. You might use the UCAS website, or you might go straight to the university websites themselves. To give you a sense of quite how old I am in this process, when I did it, we used to have to order prospectuses by post. They used to take weeks to get here, and then you used to come out with a library by the end of it. Nowadays, what's great is you have search tools that will mean that you can just find this out in an absolute instant. So draw requirements off that subject. Requirements are, what grades are they looking for? Generally speaking, top universities will be looking anywhere from A-star AA through to ABB. That's your top bracket of university requirement there. So look at the requirements. Also, requirements means what subjects are they looking for you to have from school? If you don't have what they're looking for now, that's okay. It means there's a conversation that we can now have to see how we can help you manipulate your application to see whether it can fit to what they're looking for, or whether we need to teach you that there is a hybrid to how we can actually envisage your university career, and see whether that works for you as well. The most wonderful thing about the English education system is its variety and its choice and its ability to change itself to you. Be under no illusion, universities are businesses and they want to get you in there. They also don't want to lose you. So there is always flexibility. So first job you will have over the next couple of months, draw yourself a mind map, data dump on there, do some research, and make sure you know what you're looking for. Once we know that, we can start the application process. On the other side of your piece of paper, what I want you to do is to write your shopping list. You are interviewing universities. It is not just them doing it to you. Think of this as a classic sales maneuver here, okay? They have something you want, but equally, you need to be able to interrogate them. On your shopping list should go anything from the strength of the academics all the way through to, what's important to you. Maybe you want an ensuite bathroom. Maybe you want to make sure that there's enough shops on the campus itself. Maybe you want to look at travel distance from the supermarket or sports facilities or whatever it is, but write your shopping list. Shopping list also means wish list. What do you want this to be like? I can't stress it enough. University has to be about the experience as well as the academics, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is where you grow up, where you start to experience life, where you become less of a school student and more of a student transitioning into adulthood. We are now at the stage of teaching you job prospects, etc. So you need to make sure that this is highly reflective of you. And you are going to be there for 3 years. So ultimately, also have a look at the surrounding areas and make sure you can envisage yourself there. Universities predominantly in the UK, you will live on campus in the first year, and in the second and third year, you will have to find a house with other students, either from that you might have met or students from your course. So it's important what the whole area looks like as well. Right, so we've already actually done that, that's in reverse. What I would like as well is you to do this. So on a separate piece of paper, I harp on about this all the time, but I love it as an exercise. I want you to draw a human body. It could be a stick man if you would really like it to, but otherwise, let's give the human body a go. And it looks a little bit like this, okay? So now what you have is you have a head, and you draw the head to the neck. Fold the piece of paper over halfway down the neck. If you've never done this before, you've never been a child. This is ultimately a child's game. Then I'd like you at that point, when you can't see the head anymore, to draw the body. The body, the hands, the torso, and you draw it to the upper thighs. When you've got to the upper thighs, you fold it over again. And then you're onto the legs. When you can't see the head, the upper body, now you're just drawing your legs there, okay? Then fold that piece of paper over, not to the mid-neck, but to the feet, of course. And then once you've actually done that, I would like you to write a description under your body. So you've actually done the head, the torso, the legs, and the feet, okay? And now I'd like you to write a description underneath, and I'll explain why in a bit. But you should get something a little bit like this, whereby you can't exactly remember what you drew before, but it roughly looks like it represents a body. Okay, we'll talk about that in about 2 minutes' time. What does the process in the UK entail? Well, arguably, all of this is roughly important within there. People coming out of the GCSE system will usually be coming with a mixture of B's, A's, A stars. If you don't have that, don't worry. If you don't have GCSEs, most certainly don't worry, because you don't need them. But if you have embarked on the GCSE process and you haven't got B's, A's and A stars, doesn't mean that you are going to lose out to going to top universities. You'll get a lot of scaremongering and read a lot of things that suggest you need to have the top grades and everything at every point. I guarantee you that there is a healthy dose of flexibility in the English system. And when you see this stat here, that top universities, every applicant or the average applicant has more than 4 A stars, it's nonsense, okay? It is just what we like to call in England, lies, damn lies, and statistics, okay? They're all designed to actually try and put people off a little bit. What you need is predicted grades, a good, strong predicted grades. And what this year, more than any other year, has actually shown is the value of the prediction. In this year, if there weren't predicted grades, quite how we would have assessed the relative value of students to get into university is anyone's guess. But the predicted grades are hugely important, and don't lose sight of that. So it means work hard throughout your A-levels. I'm not just trying to be cliched, and I'm not trying to pile it on. What I'm trying to say is the better the predicted grade, that's all universities have to judge you on at the point of application. Therefore, it needs to be something that your teacher feels confident in predicting for you. These need to be in relevant subjects. The relevant subjects, often, it comes from this group called the Russell Group. If you don't know what the Russell Group is, it's a term everyone loves. It's the leading 24 universities in the UK. I'm going to say leading because it does not mean top universities in the UK. It means the leading universities. And they once came up with this notional list of subjects: maths, physics, biology, chemistry, English literature, geography, history, and then languages as well, because these were the subjects felt to give you the most applicable skills in order to graduate onto university with. Nowadays, that Russell Group bias is well and truly eroded away. But if you're looking to do something at university, it is very worthwhile to make sure you have the relevant subjects coming out of A-level, because otherwise, one, questions are asked, but two, you might want to ask questions of yourself as to whether that course would be right for you and whether you have what is required. Then you do this application. The application done through the UCAS system contains the following. It has a section on personal information. That's a doddle. That's just you filling in your phone number and your email address and your passport details. Then it has a section on additional information, where all of these are the questions that we should all ask ourselves nowadays to make sure that the equal opportunities policy is well and truly ticked, but also that we're looking at fees and funding. So universities want to know how you're going to afford university. Then you have a section dedicated to your choices, which is probably the most interesting for you. You have a section based on your academic history, and we have to be transparent with what we're putting in there, although we will teach you and will go through with you exactly what gets put down and what we can leave to the side. What you need to actually try and consider is that this, and it's a very bad analogy, and I'm not teaching you gambling, but it's a little bit like a game of poker. You only play your hand when you are ready to play your hand, and in a strategic fashion. And that's what we're doing in the academic side. We then look at the personal statement, and the personal statement comes into its own because the majority, the vast majority of universities in the education system in the UK do not interview you. Therefore, your application has to be as strong as it possibly can be and basically gets you across on one sheet of paper, which is quite a tall order, but an eminently possible thing to do. If you're going for specific courses at Oxbridge or medicine or engineering or some maths courses, you might have some admissions tests. What we do is we run admissions test classes. So once you've identified the course you'd like to do, we will then put you into the relevant admissions or aptitude test classes to train you for it. You will never, ever go to a university system where you haven't been given exactly what you need, provided you don't tell us the night before. And that is why we spend so much time talking to you about this from the outset, okay? One thing we also do is we invest a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resource in our university outreach program. That means we run university fairs. You'll get one at the start of the academic year in the autumn term. And despite COVID-19, we've been able to confirm the attendance of over 50 universities so far, which is already a third of what we're looking for. So we run university fairs, and we also have universities who come and visit us to give us subject-specific talks. You're going to want to make as best use of those as possible, because for the first time, you'll be in front of someone who's actually going to be considering your university application, and there's no better substitute for actually being able to ask them a direct question. Okay, so moving straight on from that. When you're trying to write a personal statement and trying to get yourself across when you can't interview, universities have to try and look for certain things. And they're looking for that something special. And it's a phrase I really hate, but it is an absolutely perfect thing to say at the same time, because grades are not everything. The English system, and it's a very sad indictment, and I apologize, but it benefits you if you know how to pass it. So grades can't be everything. We need to see something more. Potential has to be the right thing. It's not only for universities, but in the job market in future, it is about potential. Are you literally going to peak when you come to the end of schools, or do you have more to give? If you have more to give, you're going to be more interesting for someone. Do you have profound curiosity? I mean, are you actually really interested in classical civilization, or just very good at it? And I probably have said I was in the latter category when I applied. I wasn't naturally very interested in it. Intellectual depth, can you think creatively? And more importantly, can you make connections between your A-level subjects? The very best students that we put forward to university, and the ones who tend to get the furthest, are the ones who can make natural connections between all of their subjects. Regardless of whether you can see it now or not, there is a natural symbiosis, a natural connection between so many of your A-level subjects, just possibly in strange ways. If it's not an obvious one, it might be a similar skill set or something that you've been learning, but we will help you find those connections so that you can identify it in your application. If you can do that, universities are very switched on to you being a good candidate. They are also very switched on to those who can actually go through the actual courses they are offering and find modules that you are interested in. This is the profound curiosity. Can you identify a specific module you're interested in that's common to all 5 of the universities you're applying to and write it into your application? If you can, we're on the right track. But once again, we're here to help, okay? Does it matter where you go? A question I get asked all the time. Does it? Oh, well, of course it does to an extent. Where are you employable from? Let's go back to our lies, damn lies, and statistics here. The majority of places will always be recruiting from strong Russell Group universities. But it's important to note where statistics come from. This is really for medium to small firms. Yes, there will be a natural bias towards Oxbridge. Yes, if you come out with a strong degree from the Russell Group, you will always be much more employable. And that's where we're looking to try and encourage you to see that you have potential to apply to. But if you want to be an interior designer, you are going to want to go to the University of the Arts London because you'll be more employable from there. If you want to go into animation, you can't get any better place probably than going to Bournemouth, which is world leading in terms of what it can do there. And its links to Pixar are brilliant. And it matters on what you want to do in life. So just try and move away from these. Everyone loves the job market stats. The thing is, the job market is always variable and is always susceptible to things happening, as it is once again right now. It's about how you market yourself in life. And once you've made the choice as to which university you want to go to, grab it with both hands, enjoy your 3 years, and then make it work for you the other side. You make it work for you the other side by doing well wherever it is you end up going. But always, if you want to start from somewhere, then you will always consider probably the Russell Group has a natural swing on this. So what can you do now? AS students and A-level students, what can you do now? Well, you can identify who you are, and I mean that sincerely. Identify who you are. An example I use all the time nowadays, only because, not because I love the film so much, but if you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, you'll know this example. I'm not using it from that film. I'm using it from the city that loves to use this still as an early interview technique. I actually had to do this when I went for my first round of interviews as well. It's the sell me the pen example. If you know it, it goes a little bit like this. Your very basic salesman will pick up that pen and tell you very little about it. They might give you a few features about it, but they will literally just try and tell you that this is something that you want. If you've got any experience of someone trying to sell at you, you will know that that does not work. So then you have your average salesman. Your average salesman will pare back a bit from the desperation of the sell and start actually maybe giving you some more details about the pen, maybe even tell you a little story about the pen, where they found the pen, anything. That's not a bad technique because it makes you slightly more relatable. But still, your very best salesmen out there, the people who will actually sell this pen in the end, are the people who take the time to ask the customer who they are, what they do for a living, learn a little bit more about them, and then at the end of the day, work out whether that person wants the pen, or if they don't, maybe take that pen and go and sell it to someone who actually does want it and needs it. And that way you've made the sale still. The reason for using this example for you now and for universities is you are the pen. And in every sense, you need to be the very best salesman by going to universities virtually or face-to-face and asking the questions of them, doing the research and working out what it is they actually want from you. Once you know what they want from you, you can work out either 1, if you're the right candidate for them, 2, if they're the right place for you, and 3, you can tailor your application accordingly. So this example tells you to actually do the research. Okay, research is not just web surfing, it is asking people questions and listening to the advice that you're given. So if we go back to this, 15:1 generally tends to be the ratio statistics for the top universities. Again, don't get fazed by this, it's just numbers. Numbers tell us that if you know what you're doing, then you're going to be in that place bracket. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll just be in the high applicant number. But just try and have confidence in what we are actually doing with you. I will say that all of our personal tutors are UCAS counsellors by trade and training. So this is part and parcel of their job. There's a wealth of experience. And if one of us does not know the answer, then certainly people will go and ask someone else who might. Try and consider these questions. Keep them in your mind all the way through. Why you? You will always want to know. This defines who you are. Why you? Why not the person sat next to you? What actually makes you different? Who's making that decision? Well, it's the admissions tutor, but what are they looking for? Back to the pen example. And they're looking for these. They're looking for commitment, evidence of research, future plans, and suitable skills and qualities. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, can someone answer to me, out of these 4 points, which is the most important, please? What do you think is the most important out of all of these 4? Anyone feel brave enough to have a stab? Hello.
Future plans. If you've got commitment and have suitable skills, you don't know what you're doing, then it's not really.
Sorry, the sound was breaking a little bit in and out there, but I think you said it's future plans, is that? Or was it commitment, or was it both, arguably?
I said future plans, just because if you've got commitment and you've done your research and you have the skills, but you have no clue what you want to do and how you want to use this like opportunity, then there's no real point in it.
Look, I admire that answer, to be perfectly honest. Yes, I mean, you make a compelling case. Sorry, so I understand I'm breaking up at the moment, which I'm surprised by. I will hopefully come back to. Am I any clearer yet or not?
Yeah, James, you are. So I think if you could just repeat.
I'll back up a little bit.
If you repeat your reflection on that answer, that will be great.
Of course, thank you. So reflecting on the future plans, it's a good answer. The only reason why we're saying it's not the answer is because you're not penalized if you don't know what you want to do in your future. Okay, if you have ideas, that's fantastic, and universities will applaud that. But if you don't, they are not bothered. What they are bothered is if you don't have the evidence of the research, and the evidence of the research, we are talking about wider reading, we're talking about subjects at school, and we're talking about work experience. Okay, so everything you do, be prepared to back it up if you're ever questioned on it. Your UCAS application is not the greatest work of fiction. What it is a compelling reason that you can ever so slightly go outside the lines on, but really it has to be based upon something. Okay. So do your research, talk to people. When we say talk to people, students love to misread this. It doesn't mean just talk, it means listen. Listen to the answers you're given, because then you actually can put it in the right way. And I'm not meaning you there, I'm meaning past experience on this. And work experience is the best thing that you could be doing. And it is also one of the real benefits to our English system, is that for the first year, you have the time to be able to do just this, okay? To be able to do some work experience alongside. Work experience is invaluable because it helps confirm to you whether you're making the right choice about your future, whether you're choosing the right course. It is not always a prerequisite requirement for your university applications. Please don't let people sway you too much on that. It's about what you've learned from the experience itself, and therefore any experience is valuable. Start as early as you can so you can get something in there, but anything can be valuable. And if you look at the pie chart to the left, something relevant to your chosen career is clearly going to be the most important thing there. But what also counts, charity work, of course, it builds you as a person, which is arguably more important. Maybe working with children and the elderly, because in that you are teaching, you are educating, you are caring, you are doing something practical with your time outside, but using skills that you've naturally learnt in school, whether you realize it or not, that can often help you develop as a student in the final 2 years of your school. And also something in a difficult environment. Quite like this in applications for universities. I quite like the ones that give us something whereby they have experienced a challenge. Now that might be at work, it might be working in a call center. No one likes someone who's calling someone from a call center at all. That's always quite a difficult one. Or working in a shop where the variable is people. It builds you, it builds your character, it builds your resilience. And those are all very important things. But more than that, it's about how you triumph over adversity. It might be that you've taken your driving test 5 times, but the ability to be able to keep coming back again and again is a good thing. It's deeply unique and personal to you, and therefore we can write it in the application and show how it has helped to shape you as a person. Remember, we're trying to make this personalized. What you can also be doing is continuing to read widely. Read articles relevant to what you study. I mean, that's clearly going to be a good place to start, but reading the news in general is another good thing to be doing. Read about subjects, read about topics or technology. If you're going into something technologically based, you are more than likely to have to answer something on that in the future anyway. But the ability to build that into your personal statement as well, to connect with the subject beyond the confines of your schooling, makes it a really strong argument to anyone reading an application that you could be a really good student. Keep a journal, keep a diary of the things that you've read, make notes on the things that you've read as you go along, because the human brain doesn't retain information like that, or it doesn't for a long period of time if you unless you have a photographic memory. Therefore, keep a diary so you can go back to it and keep reflecting on these. Have chats with your friends who might, 1, want to do the same course, or 2, who might not. But in the ability to be able to explain something to someone else, it makes you more of a natural student. Use the BBC website. That's a good gateway resource there. But more than that, it increases your exposure to English. And I'm not just talking about international students here. I'm talking about students in general. Your exposure in English, written English, your vocabulary level. We're not asking you to swallow a thesaurus. That's quite a mouthful. But what we do want you to do is to be able to actually develop your vocabulary, that you can make this slightly more academic, intellectual, and of an age-appropriate level. Okay. You have 1 personal statement, 5 applications, joint honours courses. If we are going to be guiding you and advising you because you don't quite have what you need yet, we might push you down the route of doing a joint honours course. They are not necessarily easier to get into. I'm using the wrong word there. They are slightly more achievable because the application numbers are slightly lower. Therefore, what you might find is the application, or at least the entry requirement, is a little bit more generous in there. You can redefine what you want to do when you're at university itself. So if you go on a joint honours course of maths and economics, and it wasn't just a straight economics course you wanted, over the course of your 3 years, you'll be able to change your program by taking on more economics-based modules. Or you might want to bring in a Spanish module or a history module or whatever it might be. But you have the ability to not quite pick and mix, but do a few different things when you're actually there. So joint honours courses shouldn't be shied away from. It doesn't mean you're going to be doing double the workload. What it actually means, you'll be doing the same workload, just in a variety of different things. And that's often not a bad thing. English, written English, as we just said, is important. And if you don't do preparation, you probably won't end up where you want to be. And that's why we're trying to get you to engage with it now, and why Simon's program is so wildly relevant and fantastic for you. And just before Adam does his piece with you next week, and I'll just round this off at the end, I want you to start thinking about your personal statement. Think about it early. Think about it now. If you're an AS student, start thinking about what sort of things you think you might be able to put in. If you're an AS going into A2 student, then you should already be roughly along the line. We like to use the 5-paragraph principle, which Adam will talk you through. Instead, I just want you to use your graphics. Graphics, I find really good ways of trying to explain something to someone. If you take this as the human body right in front of you, this is the basic structure of your personal statement. Okay? Think of it like a human body. The human body does some very superficial things, or the human brain does, I should say. It firstly will make a superficial judgment on anybody the moment that they look at you for the first time. Okay? It's just a natural reflex. After that point, you wait for someone to start speaking before you then form a different judgment of them. So in that sense, your introduction needs to be something that drags in your listener. Then you move into the body of it. And let's just move it to this, okay? So you've got your introduction. Then the body of it, the meat of it, is going to be your education. Under your education, this is what you've learned at school, this is what you read, etc., etc., etc. But this is where you start to form the academic argument. Before using more cliches here for you, the legs. You're doing the legwork of it now, the hard yards. What have you actually done to go out there and realize that this course is right for you? Well, you've done some work experience, you've done some wider reading, and you're making this into a compelling argument. Quite how much we want to know about the rest of you is a little bit varied, but it's usually somewhere between about 15 and 20% of your personal statement. Your personal statement is one side of A4. It's typed, but it's usually one side of A4. It's 4,000 characters with spaces. You'll have roughly about 649, 650 words to get your point across. So we don't want to be writing a shopping list of all the things you've ever done. Okay, we don't need to know about swimming certificates and early years studies and all of these things. What we want is what else makes you a person, what sports you might have, what positions of responsibility, but keep it brief. You might have a million, but one or two is obviously going to be more interesting. Just be selective and we will help you be selective. Right now, use your mind map to dump on there everything that you think you would want to mention to somebody. And then beyond that point, we will help you identify what is relevant and what is not. That description I asked you to write at the end of your drawing that you drew is actually your closing argument, and it reflects what you will have in your personal statement, which is usually one sentence to sum up why it is that you should be accepted onto this particular course. Different people have different views as to how much universities actually read the personal statements, okay? The truth is they do. They read them. They are important. If you're going for something like Oxbridge, they are a good place to start from. If you haven't done a good one, then or written a good one, you won't be even in through the door. Medicine, dentistry, veterinary tend to use them much less. They are far more keen on the aptitude tests. For every other university, this is all they have to know about you, okay? Now, whether they read all the way through or whether they just read 2/3 doesn't matter. It means that you need to be writing as much as you possibly can and that it reflects you and your personality. Okay, now that's a very brief whistle-stop tour and introduction. The one thing the English system loves more than anything is this transferable skills. So across AS and A2, please keep looking at the links between your subjects. If you can work out what they are, it makes you so much easier to market to a university in the future. Look, I wish you the very best of luck with your applications. You will be well supported by it. If you are going to be at MPW, you are more than welcome at any point to come and find me and to ask any questions you might have. For now, are there any questions that we can answer for you directly on the university process? And other than that, you have the next, well, what is it going to be, 4 or 5 weeks to learn an awful lot that will help you invaluably in the future. And I applaud every single one of you who's joined this program, because ultimately you are the sort of candidate who will get much further in the university application process. Thank you very much. Either type or to be able to speak, whichever way. Or other than that, I've been so insightful and so concise.
Thank you, James.
It's all right. Well, look, the really great thing is you've learned a lot today, but you will have your own mentor guiding you through this throughout the course of your time. If you need anything else, you can always come back to us and ask questions, and you'll have lots of questions that you can ask over the next few weeks.
Okay. So last chance for any questions. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, James. Thank you for sharing your encyclopedic insights with us. I would say that was great. Thank you. So as James showed you, that's the first of 6 sessions around progression to high quality universities. And we'll keep sending you information about each week's sessions, but together they form a very comprehensive guidance, I think, around university placement. For those of you who've been with us today, thank you very much for attending. Next week's program will be sent out, and the links will be sent out to you as well. If you have any questions we've not covered during the day that you want to ask us, or anything you want to follow up with, if you send an email to ready@mpw.ac.uk, which I'll put in the chat in a second, we will follow that up separately with you. That's absolutely fine. So thank you again for coming to our sessions today, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.